What's up, everybody? It's your boy Duty back again with another video, and I'm going to continue going off on our boy DSP and his latest wage quit of Star Wars. And yesterday he talked a little bit about why he actually wage quit the game, and we all know it's a bunch of lies. But I just found it so laughable. Especially watching his playthrough of the game where he's just going around mashing buttons, and of course when the game gets slightly difficult, all the problems now come to be a huge issue. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Star Wars Jedi Survivor isn't screwed up. It is. It needs some patches and so on, and it needs to be fixed. I know PC is a bit of a nightmare, and the consoles, PS5 seems to be okay, but Xbox is having some issues. But I just find it laughable of Phil's excuses for why he decided to wage quit it, and that's all it was. He wasn't getting the support that he was hoping to get, and that's why he figured, you know what, I'm going to quit this, and I'm going to go play Elden Ring. Hopefully people will throw money my way. So let's get quickly into this video. By the way, this was yesterday during his, which was, I think it was during the podcast. So I took a couple of segments and just found it so interesting where he tries to convince everyone that it's not about the money when we all know it is about the money.
So, give me a break, right? Like, seriously, just give me a break. Let me at least get used to the game or whatever. Make the earlier game easier. So at least now when I'm playing the early game, I can enjoy myself. But no, the game just literally just slaps you around right from that get-go of the first open world area. And the sad fact is, I was having fun with the game last night. On my late stream, the whole first hour, I'm exploring this open world. I'm finding items. I'm doing optional challenges of platforming and exploration and puzzles. We went to an optional dungeon. We fought a Rancor, right? It was tough, but I beat it. So we're having a good time with it. And then the entire second hour of last night's stream was basically where the game fell apart. I went into this optional... I think it's optional. I don't know. It wasn't where it told me to go for the story. But I found this town where... it was all either old droids from, like, the freaking Phantom Menace. It was really weird. It was like the Trade Federation droids. And everyone's like, why are there Trade Federation droids in the game? They're supposed to be, like, outdated by 100 years. Why are they even in it? I don't know, because they chose to put them in there. I guess lore-wise it doesn't make sense.
No, Phil, you make no sense whatsoever. God, you're just so oblivious to anything in the world. If it's not food, you don't bother to care or research it. Those droids, so you have to understand the time period. This is 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. So it's after the Clone Wars had finished and the Empire is established. Yes, the droid army was to be shut down, and the expectation was they were, but of course you're going to have certain stragglers going around. So you're going to have droids just going and continuing their function. If you bothered to watch any of the Clone Series animation, you would see they had episodes where there were actually clones on certain facilities. Not clones, there were actually droids in certain facilities, and they had no clue that the war was over. They're robots, okay? So what you do is you have this town in the planet you're on, Phil, and they're just doing whatever it is that they're programmed to do, Phil. And that's what they're trying to show you. And it's not 100 years after. The events that this is occurring, it isn't 100 years after the Clone Wars, Phil. So I just wanted to state that because it just annoyed me that you just have no clue what you're talking about. Secondly, I wanted to mention is the picture in the background is floating around on Twitter. Yes, that is our boy Phil there throwing up the love sign. I guess it's supposed to be the metallic devil horns, but the idiot put up his thumbs. So I'm guessing he's giving John Rambo a love sign. He's saying, hey, I love you. And by the way, that picture isn't altered. He does look like he has a dent, and his hairline is completely screwed up. I don't know what happened there. I'm hypothesizing that he had surgery or something happened and he had to have his hair buzzed, and it's growing back terribly. That's all I'm assuming. So the other thing too is the optional Toad boss that he's talking about. That's optional. He gets into the open world and then you can go and do separate things. Now the game is set up so that you are supposed to be able to visit the world multiple times. You're supposed to go do a part mission, and then you're supposed to leave the planet, go somewhere else, get some more abilities, and eventually you find your way back to that planet where you're strong enough to actually beat most of the bosses. Now that Toad, the way you beat it is you use Force Freeze. Phil does not have that ability. That's why he cannot beat that stupid Toad. But again, it's optional. He doesn't have to do it. He can just move along and figure I'll attack this later. But like a dunce, he sits there and keeps fighting and doing the same exact thing. That's him. Phil doesn't have those skills in his brain to say, hey, wait a minute, why am I banging my head on the wall? Why am I continually doing this? I'm expecting a different result doing the same thing. Move on, and then later I'll come back when you have the abilities you need to defeat that boss.
Or you're just fighting a bunch of like raiders or whatever, you know, some guy with a fucking stick. Yeah, he's doing stupid shit. So you're fighting all these optional enemies, you're exploring, you're getting items, and I'm having a good time with it, and all of a sudden, the frame rate starts to dip. But it's not just like, oh, it's just starting to dip. It just keeps dipping, and it won't stay consistent. It's going like, woo, woo, like this. So it's almost impossible to really react to anything. Because honestly, it feels like you're like, how can I even say it? See, there's two kinds of lag in a game. One lag makes it feel like you're almost playing underwater. Like everything you do is monstrously delayed. But the other kind of lag is when what you're seeing isn't representative of what you're doing. Because the game's graphics can't keep up with the gameplay. I don't even know if I can really explain it well.
You can't explain it well because what you're talking about is... it's an excuse that the lie you're making up, Phil. This is the same excuse you use when you do Street Fighter. And you start screaming about, my move, my combo, I didn't get my combo didn't come out. That's the same excuse you use, Phil. So we already know your playbook and the whole, oh, it's skipping my input. I pushed the button, but nothing came out. There's a delay. Phil, no. This is the same excuse you're using for they use for Street Fighter that you're trying to now use for the Jedi, for this game. And it's utterly ridiculous. And later on, it's even more funnier where you start complaining on pairing this game that it thinks it's Dark Souls or Elden Ring, but we'll get into that.
But basically, you can control the game, but what you're doing with your controller isn't representative of what you're seeing on the TV, and therefore it doesn't really matter. You're going to get hit. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, everything I do is massively delayed by a second. It's like everything I'm doing works, but I can't see what's going on because the graphics are messed up. So that's basically what's going on right now, is I'm playing the game, and we get to this...
Wait a minute, Phil. So what you're actually saying is that you're playing it right. What you're seeing is right. So it's showing that you are beating the bosses and the enemy. But then when it shows on screen, it looks like something else. It looks like you're not beating the boss. Is that what you're trying to say, Phil? Oh, Jesus Christ. Phil, you're just bad. Just say you're not good at these games. It's okay. It's okay. I watched your playthrough and all I saw was you mashing your buttons. There was no rhyme or reason. You weren't parrying properly. Like when a firebolt were coming your way, you weren't just blocking it. You were just simply mashing buttons and hoping to get lucky with a hit. That's all you were doing in this gameplay.
Area. That's a really cool area. I like the optional town. I'm exploring it. I'm finding these ways around because it's like locked at first. So you have to like zip line up to a tower and unlock a gate from the other side. Now you have a shortcut. You get to this optional boss fight. And the boss fight is cool because it's a return from the original game. It's called Ogdo. It's the crazy mutant toad monster.
Keyword is optional, Phil. Optional. You are not leveled enough to beat that boss, or not skilled enough. So when that occurs, what you do is you move on and you come back later when you have the ability to do so. I'm annoyed because I like Star Wars games, and when I watch him play it, it just ruins the experience for me.
You fought early on in the original Jedi Fallen Order, only now they call it Spawn of Ogdo, and it's tougher, right? Like, oh cool, it's a throwback boss, let me fight it. Except, I can't really do anything because my controls don't work right, because the game won't run well. It's just chugging along, chugging, and it's up, down, all around with this frame rate. Sometimes the game actually skips frames, and then you're dead. Huh? So here we are, I'm fighting it, you're just instantly dead. What happened? I didn't even get to see the thing hit me. You know? And I tried fighting this thing for a good 45 minutes. And I'm like, it's just not possible. Like, I did everything. I tried fighting a head up. I tried blocking and parrying. I tried dodging. The final attempt, I tried to stay away the entire time. Which you can't do, you don't really have ranged combat in the game. But I'm staying away for the entire time. And I'm just throwing the lightsaber at the thing. and I'm dodging, and I'm, every once in a while get a counter hit. The problem is this: they made this basically the hardest enemy in the game so far. It's got a bunch of unblockable attacks that are all different. One you have to jump over, one you have to like side dodge. You have to know exactly how to get around each attack. But again, if your controls aren't responsive, then you're gonna end up getting a cheap hit and dying in the middle of it, and that's the problem. So, 45 minutes I tried to beat this, and as I'm playing, a startling realization hits me. I'm like, this is the first area of the game. The first area. This isn't, oh, this is halfway through the game and this is some kind of a crazy, over-the-top, difficult, optional boss that you had to do a quest line to get to. This is just a regular boss they tossed into an area. Can you imagine when you get further into the game and the game is getting tougher and tougher? Can you imagine how much harder this game is going to get with this insanely bad graphical performance? And as I'm fighting this boss and I'm getting increasingly more frustrated because it's not the boss that's really that tough, it's that the game won't respond right because the graphics are screwed up. And I'm like, I realized I have absolutely no desire to actually play this game any further until they fix it. I like the gameplay elements. I like the world design, right? I actually like these bosses I'm coming across. The story right now is kind of, yeah, there's really no story to be spoken of. Maybe it'll get better. But what I'm doing in the game, I'm enjoying. My one major gripe that's making this game annoying and not entertaining is that the graphics are fucked up. At that point, I actually took the game and I took it out of 60 frames per second performance mode and I put it into what they consider the stable mode. And even then, even on the stable mode, alright, that's supposed to be solid 30 frames, it's not. I can tell you right now, it's probably around 25, if that. And it just feels bad. It doesn't feel responsive. It doesn't feel like an engine that you should be using for a game like this. Again, if this is a game where you're not dying in 1 to 2 hits to everything, then fine, make it that the graphics are fucked up, who cares, you're gonna survive anyway. But in this case, you're not a tank, you're a wimp. You take so much damage from everything. These bosses are one-shotting you.
Exactly, Phil. And again, we're talking about an optional boss. And you just don't understand the game. You don't understand that it's made for you to really think. To sit and think and say to yourself, okay, I can't beat him now. Let me move on. Let me do something else. But no, you like a dunderhead sit there for 45 minutes and fight an optional boss that you know you're not leveled up and don't have the force powers to beat. And that is the excuse that you're using for wage quitting this game. And you are wage quitting it because if you would have gotten more than 50 bucks on that night stream, you would have kept playing it because you would have thought people were interested, you would have made money on it, and you would have continued to playing it the next day just like you were going to do. But you decided, nope, I need my money, I need that money buff, so I'm going to whip out Elden Ring tomorrow night and play it. And even that, you struggled with Elden Ring there. I mean, I think one person came in and dropped a $70 dono. If it wasn't for that, you probably would have been made like 20 bucks that night. Anyway, I'm done with this. He's wage quitting it. I don't ever see him going back to it just because he knows it's going to be a difficult game for him. And Phil's not about difficult games. If he does go back to it, he'll probably drop it in from normal to easy mode, and rely on the dents to push him through it. Anyway, what he'll probably do is he'll probably play it in the background, try to learn and beat it and cheese it, and then he'll come back to it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out.